the Discord. Wonder if everyone can hear us. Hey, I think we're still having audio issues. I don't think we can hear you.
It's a good start we have again. Hopefully you can hear me now. Anyone in the chat want to let me know if you can hear me?
Okay, we can hear you again.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's been a rocky start as always, but such is the life of my second stream. But greetings, fellow commanders and historians. It is I, Old One Eye, the brains, the brawn, and the voice behind the fantastic channel One Page More. With me, we have Redford Games, our channel friend.
Hey, good to see all y'all.
Today we have a great, fantastic game situated for you. We have Rin Vale going against PuffnStuff. These two are in the semifinals of the One Page More 1,000 subscriber tournament. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Honestly, I'm just excited. We got robot legions, a human defense force. This is going to be the shootiest shoot of all shootiest shoot matches.
Shootiest shoot. That's a fantastic way of putting it. It's going to be a very interesting match indeed. Yesterday we saw a great match of Robot Legion that was a lot. It was slow. It was plodding. It's just unbelievably difficult to pull off the table. This time, the Robot Legion is a lot different. What do you think, Red?
Oh yeah, and then not to mention that we've got these two phenomenal lists. There's going to be so much DACA. I'm looking forward to some bodies, but it's an any man's game.
For sure. So right now, the players are currently loading up their table with their lists. Oh,
Yeah,
looks like
we're still loading up lists, still loading up different units here. Let's take a look at some of those models.
of course. So right now we have Rin's army up available to us. With he has on his army, he's got 3 robot lords. We can take a look at some of these stats here. The first robot lord is equipped with Lord Goss pistol, which is a really difficult one to deal with its rending 2 attacks. But it's caster 2, which is really rare in this tournament. We haven't seen very many casters.
Oh man, we got 3 objectives. They just rolled for objectives, and we've got 3 objectives. This is going to be an interesting matchup now for sure.
For sure. We have Rin placing the first objective over here between the 2 robot pillars on the right-hand side, which is a really interesting placement, especially with the deployment zones being split with these walls. And for any new viewers out here, we're doing a 2,000-point game with... Oh, that's an interesting placement there. With these walls dividing the deployment zones. These walls can be climbed with an 8-inch move, which can be particularly difficult with the Robot Legion usually only having 4 inches of movement. We have placement here with Rin placing marker 1 and 3, and PuffnStuff placing marker number 2. Quite an interesting placement up here with this marker number 2. It currently has a really strong defense against with this Robo Hot Tub covering line of sight from the opposite deployment zone, as well as cover from these closed ramen shop.
Right, and they've now just chose deployment zone, so we are looking like things are getting ready to ramp up here. I mean, I agree with you, especially with objective marker number 2 over here. We are going to see a very defensive lineup there. I'm not sure how they're going to take that once they get a hold of it, but we've got the shooting gallery up in the north. Objectives 1 and 3 are just neck and neck from each other. I can only imagine the bodies that are going to drop once they get into cover and start shooting.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's an interesting choice they made there. Instead of putting the markers behind the pillars, they really put it out here, which means that any shooting units that come across through this smoke will have a clear shot into these objectives while being undercover. Oh, we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like the human defense force is currently just out. They're already setting up their tanks right on the side. They're going to try and probably push forward to objectives 3 and 1. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting with the placement of objective 2 over here. With whoever owns this red deployment zone is going to be quite in control, but especially with this objective 3 right in that sight line.
Absolutely. There's going to be great line of sight. And I mean, let's just take a look at that tank here for a second. I mean, we've got AP4, AP2, Blast, lots of different armor piercing attacks and deadly. So there's a mix of deadly and blast on this unit alone. So it's going to be very versatile on dealing with any threat. So I see why it was the first unit that was placed.
Yeah, we're starting with all the vehicles. It looks like with the first night transport being placed on the north side of this map, with the other night transport placed on the opposite side. Do you have any insight in why Rim might be placing them on opposite sides of this wall?
So, based on what we know about the night transport, since it is a flying unit, it may not have a lot of wounds, but it is very hard to shoot at due to the fact that you get a negative 12 inches to shoot and a negative 1 to shoot just in general. It's also very fast, moving anywhere between 30 to 36 inches, which means it's going to be able to cover a lot of ground. Based on what we've seen in previous matches, there's a strong chance he'll be using it for repositioning of the units that are most likely going to be inside of here, the warrior squad. So only time will tell. It could be a nifty turn 1 deployment, or even crazier turn 4 deployment once this dust has settled.
Well, looks like we're deploying the bot swarms in their. Oh, nope, we've got a correction and putting it back into the deployment zone. One of the things that I was surprised with is we have a tank deployed, one tank. And we've been deploying these over here. Is that because he's got pretty much everything else being deployed inside of his tank, or are we just using?
Well, the heavy battle tank is a very tough model with lots of damage, so it is most likely an answer to anything that wants to come trying to shoot on the northern side of the map. Especially since aircraft have to be deployed first, he automatically knows where the aircraft are going to be, so he can have a very good response to said aircraft and whatever units that come out of it.
And Puff is deploying his conscripts now. His conscripts are quality 6 with a 5 up defense, with mass shooting at 24-inch range, which is really nice because that puts it within a good range, almost making it to that objective marker 1. We're going in with the warriors here from the robot legions. You can pull up their stats here. Now, these warriors are very similar to the warriors we saw yesterday. The only major difference here is they have a flame caster, which helps out with clearing those more of chaff units. So we might be able to see some interesting interactions between them and the conscripts.
Absolutely. And I would have to say this, based on what the comment section saying already, with the fact that the tank was most likely deployed by mistake, potentially, on the positioning, but it could still be a viable position for that tank. Again, this is still an any man's game. Bad positioning can decide matches, but
I don't think it'll decide this one.
You don't think so?
No.
How so?
It's just with how far these players have come through this tournament, it'd be very surprising if it was determined in before even turn 1, especially with how incredibly balanced both armies are. They're with the Human Defense Force really leaning into the way that Human Defense Force is supposed to be played. You have your mass units, you have got your artillery support with your heavy tanks. The army that's really playing out of styles here is the Robot Legion.
Well, we can already assume that. In fact, with they're using some of the fastest units in the game to transport their models. This goes all the way down to their aircraft units, which are going to be really fast and holding back a sizable amount of their army for any type of deployment as long as the aircraft stay on the board. I mean, that is the kicker, as long as it can survive. But based on previous matches, they have survived every round without blowing up, so we can look forward to good things for them.
Very true. Um, we're we I'm with these two aircrafts here. I'm thinking we're going to experience some really interesting run bys with them just flying straight through. But in the previous match that Rin, the Robot Legion player, had, it really was decided with all of the warriors he had loaded up into those transports. I don't know if you remember that match, but it was a turn four. Unload of all of his warriors to be able to clear off an objective to take over the win.
It, honestly, it was a great ploy. He had two of those aircrafts, if you remember, and they both did the same thing. Of course, one of the aircrafts almost got shot down, but it didn't happen. So it deployed the troops, took objective marker 2 and 3 in that game, securing him the victory. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. We have a good comment here from Cantus. To be honest, it's unrealistic to kill the night transports unless you have dedicated lock-on anti-air. Defense 2 plus 6 wounds and regen combined with the aircraft rule is tough to break open. That is completely true. We had some jokes about it in the previous match with it, where there was a unit with 12 inches of range standing under the aircraft, and we're like joking that it should be able to hit it, just shoot up, but it doesn't because it has zero range. We
Right.
also brought up the idea of, well, if you have 6 inches of range on an aircraft, does it go backwards because it's minus 12 to your range?
Mhm. I agree. And also, if we take a look at what the lazy DM is saying next, it's not a massive threat on its own right. So, taking it at face value, most people will ignore it. But I'd say anyone that's smart enough to know what's in those transports would make it more of a priority if possible. Yes, it may be hard to target, but it would be worth shooting at least in my opinion. It could be a game changer getting rid of them sooner rather than later.
Completely. Especially with the fact that there are units inside of it, there's models inside of it. And so destroying those models, destroying the transport can do some serious damage to those models. Puff
Hmm.
is really just focusing down and deploying everything on this part of the map. He doesn't have anything on the north.
I would like to point out that this may be. It seems like he is giving up completely on objective marker number 2. Even though it is much further away from the Robot Legion, those night transports can easily drop units on it at any time. So effectively giving that the objective. I understand the strategic point of capturing multiple objectives, though, but that could be a blunder if you ask me.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I know we just said earlier that this game most likely will not be won in deployment, but we might see something interesting here, especially since I believe that this objective marker 2 was placed by Puff himself. So what's interesting there? We have a move forward with the conscripts, moving into this little niche here, and they have a company leader. Um,
Yeah, the conscripts seem to be making their first move. The human defense force is deploying. We need a song. Isn't there a song for this? The HDF deploys.
well, there is now a song for it. I can't wait for your album.
Oh well, I was just ripping off a song from the uh, Earth Defense Force video game series. Have you heard of it or played it?
No, I've not. I'm when it comes to video games, if it's not Tabletop Sim or Dwarf Fortress, I probably haven't played it.
Oh man, I know you do some good stuff on Dwarf Fortress. So you should definitely stream that sometime.
We have a good comment here from Lazy DM. Rin also has an amazing strategic sense and figured out to soft ambush units with the aircraft in round 4, bypassing the rules where they can't seize objectives if deployed in the final round. That is correct. If you ambush on turn 4, they cannot control objectives. But if you disembark from a transport on turn 4, they can control objectives, which is a pretty huge win.
Hmm. Absolutely. And as we discussed earlier, we saw that pan out in the quarter semifinals where he took two objectives doing just that maneuver. So it is not a unviable maneuver, especially since we're dealing with so many units on one side of the field.
Looks like they're discussing right now a potential misunderstanding of the aircraft rules and the transport rules. So they might have to redo some deployment here, but we'll keep an eye out on that.
Sure.
But with Devious comment around this objective here, best it's his best strat given the setup, but having a free objective with Rin's supermobile army could backfire. The reason why I would call out that in particular is when was the last time you heard someone describe the robot legions as supermobile?
Honestly, it would be a very rare thing for me to hear Robot Legion's army being super mobile. But in this case, we are dealing with probably one of the most mobile Robot Legion's armies to date for tournaments.
Yeah. And then Candace bringing up a fact again that 58% of Puff's army is tanks. So that's a quite the heavy investment, and we're going to be able to see that in play. So again, we might see a lot of these conscripts go down, but until one of those tanks go down, it's not going to be some serious damage.
But that's correct. And not to mention that I know that we're looking at these conscripts with a quality 6 morale check, even with their company leader. If they're ever to be damaged too badly, they sure have they have a quality 4 morale check when it comes to those morale quality checks. But each of those company leaders have hold the line, which means they can sacrifice a unit to keep that unit from routing or getting a pin. So they're going to be great at holding objectives as long as they're alive.
It looks like we have here. Oh, we have some movement of the Robot Legion with this floating group of warriors with a Robot Lord. Oh,
Here's they
never
have
mind.
deployed into the aircraft. This is
They just
a
embarked.
drastic turn of events.
Yeah. So we've just completely removed some target prioritization from the side of the map that didn't have anything to shoot at. We have a company
That's
leader.
interesting because you can deploy into aircrafts at the start of deployment. The fact that they were not deployed in there is, if you ask me, strategical, given the fact that he saw how the deployment happened and now he's responding to it accordingly.
Yeah, it's also a way to use up one of your opponent's activations. So if you have them outside of the transport and use your activation to embark into the transport, you get a better view of what your opponent's going to be doing with their activations. Because otherwise, Rin would only have, I believe, 2 activations on the table.
Absolutely. And we just got a comment asking about how many units have ambush. And from what I'm seeing, we've got 2 units currently in ambush, a squad of guardians and a squad of guardians with doubled up. So that's something to consider for their extra mobility and versatility in melee combat.
Yeah, we have them here. Here's our 2 squads of guardians. There's also with them is their annihilator lord. It doesn't look like I've a card for that. That's unfortunate.
The Annihilator Lord is very interesting. You'd expect it to have more close combat weapons considering the fact that it's in a Guardian squad. However, it does not have that. It just has its basic close combat weapon attack. It does come with a Lord Gauss pistol, but that doesn't appear to be the main focus of it. It appears to be a point spend just to get the Shadow Protocol rule, allowing this unit to ambush without the ambush rule. So it's a tough unit that adds extra tough to the squad, making it just extra chunky and an ambush unit. Very impressive.
Very impressive indeed. So we have some movement from the heavy battle tank. That's yeah, it's moving forward with plotting. Hopefully, it doesn't shoot down those conscripts. We know the Human Defense Force doesn't value life very much, but hopefully they value their own. We have a good comment from Devious here. Also worth noting, action economy, Rim might be after first activation next turn. That's true. Alternating activation with bias towards those with the least number of activations getting first next turn is a huge thing to manage. I've seen so many games just go because they didn't manage their action economy very well.
Agreed. And look at that. We've got our first turn capture of an objective right from the rope bot swarms. Bold move.
You know, well, remember it's not quite captured yet until they have until the end of the turn. We have a fantastic company leader moving forward here. We are out of activations from Rin, and so now Puff gets to move as much as he wants, moving his field artillery. This has been a pretty bloodless turn one.
And that's why I'm suggesting as far as those little swarm units are concerned, they might actually get to capture this objective if there's not a lot of shooting coming their direction.
Looks like we're going to be doing some backtracking because the artillery is slow and moves 6 inches originally. Now we're measuring range. I kind of retract my previous statement. Looks like we're going to see some blood now if we're within range.
I do have to wonder if those scarabs are getting any type of cover since he's shooting through his own models. I'm just checking the field artillery. It doesn't appear to have any type of indirect, and it is shooting through its own models using true line of sight. Technically, yes, it can't. I would argue it can't even see those models. So I don't even think it should be able to shoot. But if the players agree otherwise, that is their choice.
Yeah, that's a fair point there. Gathering line of sight on that might be really difficult, so we'll see. Looks like they're proceeding with dice rolls. So this is from the field artillery using its heavy laser cannon, 36-inch range, 1 attack, AP3 deadly 6.
Well, indeed. The only issue I was going to say that swarm should get cover, but it seemed like it didn't matter.
Yep. So after that fantastic display, one of the swarms was completely blown off the map here.
All right, maybe we're going to see some more action from the heavy battle tank. Now, the heavy battle tank's field of view is a lot larger than the cannon itself. So, with that being said, I would argue they have a better line of sight and they won't get cover. But it seems like the players are proceeding anyway, so let's see some good shooting today.
It looks like I'm doing some amateur moves here from Devious. I might be leaning away from my mic, making it hard for you all to hear, which is absolutely my fault there, so I apologize for that. But Lazy Dim says, I find it really interesting that Puff did not put any units on the north side and completely gave up marker 2. Not having an ambush unit to go and get it is going to be difficult. And I completely agree with that, as we mentioned before. It's especially difficult with the transports, being able to just come into place and dropping a unit right on top of it.
Absolutely. He's completely given up on that objective unless we see from him some of his either tanks moving through the mist or even some units of the conscripts moving through the mist and running over there. But even with the action economy and the hampered movement speed, I doubt that that's going to be a possibility, even if they go through the wall.
Looks like we're at their end of turn 1 here with Rin securing that objective, like you said, with these bot swarms. And we're coming in hot with the night transport, and looking like he was going to think about taking a bath there in the Royal Hot Tub.
Lieutenant Dan could certainly use some company. Now, if we know we are on the top of turn 2, which is why he's deploying his aircraft on table lines now. Even though it's not shown on the map, we can clearly tell that based on how the aircraft are being deployed.
Now, this is an interesting deployment with the aircraft rules. Correct me if I'm wrong, this basically means that this transport's just going to shoot straight across the map and go off the table.
That's correct. They can only move in a straight line after being deployed, so they're going to keep going straight, depending on what they're going to do. But based on how he's angling it, it seems like he's going to just go straight off the map again, or at least an attempt to get his unit somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. I really think this is going to be an endgame play at this point with the aircraft.
And then we have... trying to remember all my hotkeys here, sorry. Then we have the second craft coming in, some back and forth decision making over here on if it's the north or the south side they want to deploy on. But Cactus brings up a really great point here of bunching up all the units on that one side from the Human Defense Force player really prevents any ambush play going into the back line and decimating things, which might be worth giving up this objective too.
That is correct, and it seems based on the fact that it's turn 2, we're not seeing any ambush being deployed on turn 2, which is maybe a ploy to get his units to move forward and capture the objective, giving him more space for ambushing instead of ambushing in the front, but we'll see. Also, we have some great comments from the comment section here. I really appreciate what Devious and Lazy DM are saying.
Let's see here.
We might still be on turn 1, actually. That's a good point.
No, they're on turn 2, I believe. If you wouldn't mind, Red, confirming that. I just see that they marked the objective, and then they're also bringing the transports in.
Roger, I'll be right back.
With that, Devious says you might be trying to cram the transports into that spot. That's very true, with trying to get it right next to the hot tub over there. And then Rim might be saving his ambush deploy across the wall to protect them from immediate fire lines. Yeah, especially with the range that we're dealing with.
Confirmed 2-2.
Perfect. With the range that we're dealing with from the Human Defense Force, that making sure you control your sight lines is going to be extremely important in this. So we have a shot from the artillery cannon, I believe. It's going to be 2 up. Not a 2 up, it's going to be 4 up. That is going to be a miss, unfortunately. It's not always good to have an artillery with a 4 up when you're shooting, but with the Deadly 6, kind of makes up for it.
Absolutely. It's going to be one of those shoot. If it hits, great. If it doesn't, well, it's there being intimidating.
Yeah. Over here, we have exactly what we called out. The warriors are going to be piling out of the night transport into objective marker 2, which is going to secure that marker. Which potentially at the end of turn 2, we could see two objectives controlled by Rin.
Oh, absolutely. And let's not count this warrior squad out. I see the attempted strategy in getting him to waste units on objective marker 2, but let's not forget that once the aircraft has finished moving, it can then again be run into with the warriors. The warriors can redeploy into the aircraft again, so they can still be very useful. Sure, they're not usable for turns 1 and turns 2, and probably turns 3, but they will be a force to be reckoned with on turn 4.
Exactly here. So now after we've got this, we've got some movement going on. We had a craft just shoot off the table again. Interesting move. Lazy DM says, wait, how did the aircraft get to there? Was the second aircraft not taking a bath? Otherwise, how did the turn instead of going straight line? So the aircraft started in this location right here, and I'll start in this location, and then is flying off the map in this direction, which is enough movement. There, it doesn't have to fly off the map; has to fly upwards of 36 inches, and it moved it in that direction completely. There was a little difficulty. The players agreed that you couldn't position the aircraft to point in the right direction because of the terrain, and so they just came to an agreement there.
It's honestly a great play, and quite frankly, as I think I said earlier, I think it was a misstep to not have any units guarding number 2, because now he not only has a free objective turn 2, but those units, which were presumably going to be useless, are going to go right back into that aircraft, and then they're going to shoot off into the map and go somewhere more useful. So this is just a free objective for him with no resistance. I think it might have been a misplay, but what do you think?
we're going to see really when it comes to that. Without having as many models on the table because of the transport play, um, the Puff might be just claiming free objectives, even though it gave up objective 2. He's claiming free objective here with objective 3 and the potential of objective 1 pretty quickly. Without anything on the table to really protect, Rin's going to have a hard time holding this side of the table.
That's correct, until the aircraft get on the other side, which is not going to be very hard. Not to mention he has a ton in ambush, so unless, correct me if I'm wrong, unless Puff has the ability to really pull things off objective 1, this is going to be a hard press for a tie.
Not necessarily, because take a look. We're coming up with movement 12. These conscripts, while they don't look like very much, their durability is actually through the roof when you take into account their company leader, taking all of their morale. So, plus with the take aim rule, we end up with a much better shooting option for them. And it looks like Rin is out of activations once again, and now we have Puff moving everything he wants without really any means of contesting it.
Absolutely, and now we're getting some tank movement, so maybe we'll get some tank shooting. But based on the way that he's positioned his Scarab Swarm, it's going to be very hard for them to get any type of line of sight unless he has indirect.
Well, we're taking some aim here. This is Rin trying to do some measurements. Looks like he is measuring the distance to ambush. Oh, that was a good move by Puff over here. By moving into this exact position, he made it so the ambushing units could ambush directly on top of the objective. Now they'll be able to move into objective, but it's not an automatic objective game. Okay, now we're moving into turn 3 here. This has been really a bloodless battle with only one bot swarm being the casualty.
We're seeing a lot moving on the field, and I'm quite frankly excited. We've got Guardians with nothing but melee weapons, hoping to get their nice 8-inch charge since they're a little bit on the slow side. So we'll see what happens with that.
We've got some great comments that I've been falling behind on here. Devious with believing that the tanks might be pushed back too far. That's true. It's the conscripts are really going to be eating these shots rather than a tank. I'm not sure what the play is there. Maybe just to keep as many points on the field as possible. But we're going to see if that tank play is the original tank placement is going to bite him in the butt or not. And then Cantus, Rin's 10 strong Guardian can cut through the conscripts, but they'll need 2 turns. The other squad doesn't have the kind of attack density to chop through them at all in time. That is true. I think we're dealing with a side where both armies has got some pretty darn high durability and not a lot of firepower to deal with it. What do you think, Red?
At this point, I normally say it's an any-man game, which I still agree with. The issue that we're seeing is we have every unit available on Puff's side. All of the conscripts, all of the tanks, all of the artillery. They're all on one side, ready to take aim and fire. However, we're only seeing a fraction of Puff's army on any side of the board, which can spell bad news for Puff, especially if he cannot get rid of the Guardians fast enough. All Puff has to keep doing is all Rin has to keep doing is continue to put bodies on marker number 1 and keep forcing the conscripts away from those markers, and it will secure his victory. Now, again, it's still an any man's game, but I see what he's doing, and it's pretty clever, at least on Rin's side.
Okay. We have the second ambush. We have the second unit of Guardians with their 5 being deployed directly in the. Nope, we have a change.
Oh wow,
line.
he's changing plans. I like this upset.
Yes. But we have Lazy DM saying that he thinks this game will come down to a turn 4 drop of units onto a contested objective, which really could either take an objective and make it contested, or take an objective completely. So it's going to be interesting. Rin's really been enjoying his turn 4 drop, so Lazy DM, I think you're onto something here. And then we have Volpid saying that right now the game will be apparently all on objective 1. Rin can drop from back road and contest the first objective. Yeah, I completely agree here. That placement between these two pillars really cuts line of sight and makes it so it's hard. If Rin comes in with these guardians, sets up a line. Let's draw that line. Sets up a line right here of guardians. The amount of exposure that it has over here to any melee unit is completely diminished. So that could come into play quite drastically later on.
See, here's the play that I was talking about earlier. The fact that his aircraft each has a squad of warriors. It has a 30-inch range to drop warriors right in front of his conscripts, making it impossible for him to even contest turn 1, the objective number 1. So we have a lot of his units just getting ready to frontline on objective 1, and if he has no answer for getting off those warriors, guardians, and even the scarabs if it comes down to the worst of it, I would see very little room for victory. But it's still an any man's game. Maybe those takes might come in clutch.
Yeah. It looks like they forgot one of the guardians over here. Hopefully they'll notice if I ping it enough. There was an interesting play.
He's watching the bath, if you ask me. Lieutenant Dan's like, hey, over here, buddy.
That smoke really should have been providing stealth, because that is the stealthiest robot legion I've ever seen. So we actually saw an interesting move here where Rin used to have a model on this side. He was going to deploy his night transport over here. Then he did some measurements and noticed that he would be too close to what he wanted to see. So he moved it onto this side because he wants to move over here. And that ensures that it's a 36-inch move, or roughly between 31 and 36 inches, while still being on the board. So now he can just potentially unload all of his warriors onto this, making that basically an unsiegeable objective.
Absolutely. This was the play I was talking about earlier. Exactly what we were waiting for. And great strategy on their part. As Devious said, he was planning this from the jump. Rin's going to fight over 1 with everything he's got. Body block. His unit's going to take the best. All he has to do is gun down these conscripts. Bingo. Well, or at least hold them off long enough for turn 4 to end. But what do you think?
I think that we're going to see a bloodbath for sure. We might be seeing some... we're going to see this. The night transport is going to be unloading onto these conscripts here with its twin flux cannon. We'll see those dice rolls coming up here. That is... Yeah, they don't need the 24-inch range for this one. They have 6 attacks, AP1 with flux. Now, Redford, could you remind me what flux is?
Flux. Whenever the unit rolls a 6 to hit on a flux, that is doubled. So any 6, he's going to get an extra dice to hit with, which is going to be really great against conscripts, because those poor guys only got a defense 5.
And then we also have 6 attacks rending.
Oh, wow. Looks like we've already got 1/6 there, probably for the rending, from what I'm seeing.
For the rending. So
that's a little overkill for a conscript, but he's going to get vaporized.
That's for sure. You don't need AP4 to get rid of a conscript.
But yeah, we're getting a lot of comments about how the shooting is going to go down. Devious, Lazy DM, and Volpid all have solid points.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Lazy DM, for watching. I really wish you could finish the game as well. But enjoy your chores and enjoy the VOD.
All right.
So we have 6 failed attempts for the conscripts. So that's 6 of them going to be removed.
Good news is conscripts come in large numbers, so they're not taking a morale check just from that. They are going to hold strong. The human defense force knows no fear until you kill too many of them.
Yeah, very true. With 20 in the squad to begin with, 6 is nothing. I'm pretty sure that company leader was expecting to lose at least 15, and so he's just happy. I bet the human defense force doesn't even require them to file reports unless it's 10.
We'll have to check the paperwork on that one, but look, we've got an interesting move here with a bold and furious charge from the conscripts, getting right in front of those guardian swords, as I call a risky move just to contest that objective. But they must survive the upcoming onslaught of melee attacks. which I'd say is no easy feat considering they're now going to be surrounded by not only guardians but warriors coming out of that aircraft.
That's true. This is I have never seen such bravery or foolishness from any conscript squad ever. That company leader must be ruling them with an iron fist to make them charge into this.
Honestly, my heart goes out to them. Either we're going to salute them at their funerals or we're going to salute them for their bravery.
Oh, we're gonna salute them at their funerals no matter what. I don't think there's gonna be a choice. It's just hopefully they'll be able to last the rest of this game before they have that funeral. Well, and what's really interesting about there is, unless there's some movement going into here, uh, and this conscript unit survives this, this won't be a contested objective because
Only time will tell. They'll have to survive the entire round to contest it.
well, they just. I mean, think about it. They just saw this massive Gauss cannon, ate it to the face, and still were able to charge into here. And we have some good movement blocking here from Puff, with nothing being able to be within 1 inch of it at the end of the turn. They might be able to own this if they just lose. All they can lose is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 conscripts.
And look, we've got our first charge. It is going to be a bloodbath. Check this out.
So this is the unit of Guardians over here. The 5. Oh.
With their 8-inch charge, they're going to be able to get everyone into close combat. That's not going to be great for the conscripts. They're going to have to do their 3-inch move just to get in, which are going to pull them away from the objective, allowing for more guardians on the other side to get in.
Yeah, it's never a good sign when you see something that you see a weapon called hyper swords. It's not a good sign. With 2 attacks, AP1 rending, that is an overkill when it comes to trying to deal with conscripts.
Mind, due to the rules, he is forced to get into base contact the best that he can with that 3-inch move. If so, he will have to get pulled away from the edge. So this was a very good ploy on Rin's part to go for the side first.
Let's see here. This might be setting up for the second unit of conscripts over here, coming in to come in and flank this guardian unit after it's exhausted, after its activation, or we might just see just a bloodbath here. So we have the attacks coming again. Again, these are the hyper swords, AP1. So those we'd be saving on 6s. Ooh,
oh
rending.
My goodness, that's a lot of rending coming through.
That is a lot of rending coming through. That 3-ups, everything but 1 hits.
Oh my goodness. That was not great for the opponent. I mean, look at that. That's all wounds right there.
That is all wounds. Hopefully he has enough bodies to deal with this. But this is not looking good for that conscript squad and that extremely brave company leader.
Not to mention, he's got to keep pulling units off while maintaining unit cohesion. This is going to be really rough for him to hold back on that objective.
And we're still in turn 2, correct?
We're in turn 3 at the moment.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure. Volpid, it's turn 3.
All right, the 10 models are removed. Either way, they're going to be taking a morale check, which they'll most certainly pass with their conscript leader. The company leader, excuse me.
Yeah, conscript leader is too fleeting of a title.
Oh my goodness, wait a minute. He's got if he withhold the line, he'll be able to save that for sure. Yeah. More guardsmen are spawning in reserves. They will be too late to save them.
Hold the line being that if they fail morale test, they're able to pass it, correct?
Correct. They'll have to sacrifice a unit to do it, so no matter what, they're going to come out of this A-OK, probably with 1 less conscript.
Okay, looks like we are going in for the attack. And we have 2 saves off of that, but we're able to remove 1 guardian.
Those conscripts are worth their salt, I'll tell you that.
I don't know if it was a conscript. It looked like it was the company leader with the fantastic close combat weapon with 2 attacks.
Well, that adds up. The conscripts did their best attempt.
Yeah, these conscripts, really are not pulling their weight when it comes to AP, but you know they're just here to block movement and enjoy the view.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now let's see how that morale check goes. If he passes it, then he's going to be able to save one of his units from getting shot in the face by his leader.
Volpid, it must be remembered, however, that Puff's units should be immune to the rout because of hold the line. Effectively, they're immune to the rout because of the hold the line. But when it comes to this, for unit coherency, there's not a lot of units to sacrifice here to prevent to movement blocking. So we might be able to remove this one or this one if there's a failed test.
And based on what we see, it looks like they got the 5 up on the test. They only needed 4 to pass, so they're not losing any additional units, even if they did rout.
I think to take some time to look at this guy right here. What's going on with him?
And here comes the conscripts. Second squad of conscripts is ready to move out. Also, it looks like we're in need for a ruling. The answer, I would say no. We cannot move under aircraft because it still has a model, so we're going to just say no to that. Can't stack models on top of other models. That's ridiculous.
I don't know about that. You can't stack models on top of models, it was correct. But because it's an aircraft, it doesn't interact with anything below it.
Yeah, so I would say you can move through it as long as you don't as long as you're not in it.
That is correct. Volpid,
all right.
Old One Eye made me reflect on how much unit disposition is important, especially in this moment. Great points, OPM. Thank you very much. I try my best to say anything sensible, and sometimes it works. This is interesting here. We're doing the 1 inch move back to maintain unit cohesion, or actually nope. We're rushing forward with these conscripts over. These are a different unit of conscripts.
And as you said, since the aircraft doesn't interact with models, they can move right through it. The only issue is he's going to have to move these in such a way that's not within 1 inch of the base of that model.
Or 1 inch base of the other conscripts.
Exactly. So it seems like he's doing everything he can to contest that objective. The question is, will there be enough conscripts to withstand the sheer amount of firepower that's going to come from those warriors?
Adam Sow with the night transport is not the right model for representing a flyer. It does not even have the flying base. That is correct. It's not a perfect representation, which leaves a little bit of difficulty with representing where everything is. But I think the players can just, rule of cool it, and say, yep, these things are under it, and then they'll have to deal with it later.
And that's what I like, Old One Eye, about the OPR model agnostic model. It's so easy to play with any model that you have. You could even represent the aircraft as, I don't know, a tank, for instance, and we would accept that, because as long as both players accept it, that's what's so great, is that it's such a free-flowing thing, and it's not as strict as, I don't know, a Warhammer 40,000 tournament would be, where you would never get away with that.
I'm not familiar with that game system. We'll have to talk about it later. Yeah, so, again, absolutely fantastic rule set from one-page rules. I absolutely love this. And being able to really engage in this play here. Although, Kentis did say 1 page more is model agnostic, and that is true. I am agnostic to all models. They're all the best models. I love all models equally. Unless they're Zerg models, I love them equally, but just a little more.
Mm-hmm. And we have some great points from Devious here. And now the question becomes whether or not the tanks can kill enough models for the conscripts to weather the storm. And I'd agreed with that. He's really got to rely on the tank killing power on this.
Yeah, with the tanks, though, so far back, look at just the sheer volume of Puff's army held back in reserve. With the field artillery, let's double check that. At 200 points, each tank is 575, and then we have an Inquisitor and a company leader. Back here, we have upwards of 1,200 points or more just held in the back line.
Correct. Now, normally, if this was a stricter tournament, this movement would not be allowed due to the fact that the new ruling is that the furthest model away would need to be 6 inches away maximum. So this move would normally not be allowed under any other circumstance. However, since if both players agree, this move will probably
Well,
let it go through.
I think they're using it as representation of these being under the night transport because it's a flyer. They would be able to fit, so the unit coherency would be fine. It just means that they can't do anything in terms of movement wise. They would have to take the movement from where the unit coherency would make sense.
And that's the beauty of this game. Players agree to it, and it's allowed.
Yeah, within reason, that is.
I don't, right? I guess they can just win the game.
With Volfed, Puff is actually arranging it in such a way to block the passage. Brilliant and courageous. Love the conscript swagger. Conscript swagger is something I've never heard of before, but boy, do they have it this game. And then now Puff should cover the empty objective with 2 tanks, otherwise Rin will appear with the vehicle ready to drop. That's actually a really good point here, because nothing in the rules says that a tank can't climb that wall.
Absolutely. And let's keep in mind that we have an Inquisitor in the back with Demon Hunter hanging back. Even though Devious thinks it's wasteful, it does prevent ambush from behind. But since the ambush never came from behind, it may be potentially wasteful. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm really interested in what's going on in the back over here. We're gonna see some interesting plays, hopefully, from Puff with all of those units back there, especially with that Inquisitor. That the shield wall plus caster, that could be really deadly. And again, what's really been interesting in this tournament, for the most part, we've really not seen much spell casting.
That's true. Even though we do have a spellcaster in the back line, it's not able to do a lot due to the fact that it is just so far away from any units that it can either attack or it could benefit from. Perhaps the heavy battle tanks can still benefit from some spells, but we need to take a look at their list. With that being said, we've got the warriors that are in full deployment, leaving the aircraft, which is just going to be more trouble for these conscripts at this point.
I guess. Thank you, Cantus, for your rules clarification there. I'll read it out. In case anyone is in chat is wondering, Demon Hunter means you can't ambush within 12 inches of the model. And again, demons being the most notorious when it comes to ambush, with every single one of their units having ambush from the get-go. It is an amazing ability, so Demon Hunter can really shut things down. With Devious saying the caster could be there to buff more than just attacks. That is true. Hopefully it'll be able to, hopefully the Human Defense Force has some sort of movement buff allow them to get to objective 2 on the north side of the map. Red, do you mind actually checking out their list, their spell list?
Absolutely. So we've got the spell list here. Some spells that, since it's kind of full, the spellcaster hasn't really done anything at this stage. He should be pretty full up on spells since he is a caster 2, which means he gets 2 spell tokens that he can spend on spells every round. At turn 3, he should have 6 spell tokens at this stage.
On both sides, we have spellcasters, both caster 2 on both sides. None of them have cast spells yet.
That's correct. All the spellcasters should have 6 spell tokens at this stage, which means for the Human Defense Force, they get Foresight, Flame Breath, Protective Dome, Expel, Psychic Speed, and Tempest, each with a variety of damage and buffing.
Oh, sorry for interrupting, but we are getting our first spellcasting from the Robot Lord onto the Warriors. It's a movement buff that gives them an additional movement. This is going to be huge, because this could, if the spell goes off and they roll well, they could go and claim this objective over here. We have the roll.
Okay, here we go. Let's see the spell.
That goes.
Wow, the spell goes through. We've got some fast robots. Also, let's keep in mind what Devious said, that technically, when it comes to casters for the HDF list, the caster that's being used is an Inquisitor from the Human Inquisition list. So this is a mixed army, HDF and Inquisition. Super cool.
That is true. We've got a lot of mixed armies here. With this Robot Lord we have is now, with the rest of its activation, going to unload its Lord Goss pistol. onto this group of conscripts. Oh, wait a second. No.
Absolutely.
Is that a different one? I don't have the stats for that. Wow. Nope. That's right. And then the unit is also going to do that as well. We are looking at...
All right, look at those. The dice are going to start rolling. I'm ready. Let's see what happens.
The blues are the rending from the robot lord. The reds are coming from the warriors.
Wow.
Looks like
look at that.
We have a lot of 5s and a 6. We have 9 hits at AP1.
AP nothing. Should be AP nothing due to the fact that they're using the Gauss rifles.
Oh, that's true.
Well, there's only one AP4 hit going through.
Oh, that AP4 is going to be... Oh. AP4 is overkill, but we'll see what's going on here.
We're looking at some vaporizing, and you know how I like my vaporizing. Nice and toasty. Alright, looks like that black dice is going to be the representing the AP4.
As... let's see. Oh,
oh, wow.
1 save.
So some lucky person just ducked and took cover. Unfortunately for the rest of his comrades, they were gunned down.
Yeah, most likely the company leader just grabbed a conscript, put it in the way, and that conscript now no longer exists.
It's atomized to the molecule.
Now, Red, I know you know that an atom is smaller than a molecule, but your point is fair.
Well, be that as it may, atoms and molecules all vaporized here.
Yeah. Exactly. With Devious pointing out that he has that flame caster as well, helping out with that blast. That can be some serious damage. Now, we are going to see some potential response from Puff here. I wonder what he's going to activate next. In this situation, what unit would you activate?
Well, quite frankly, if I was in Puff's situation, I'd be in a little bit of a predicament losing conscripts left and right. However, it'd be the opportunity at this stage to start denying movement or denying opportunities from the robot legions. I'd start shooting some tanks if I were Puff at least.
For sure. Now these pesky robot swarms coming around the pillar. Again, they started over on this side. They took a quick little walk, enjoyable scenic route, over 2 turns to make it back. Now potentially contesting that. Looks like the bot swarms are now attacking the remaining conscripts here, which are these, and they hit on 6s. 1 hit.
Keep in mind, that's a poison hit from the... oh, wait, not poison. I believe that's rending. Should be rending.
Let's double check here. Rending.
Yep, so that's going to be an AP4 hit coming from that scarab. Very spooky.
And he's already moving to save time. He's already falling back to make sure that we, like I said, save some time. And here we have 1 save.
Wow. So the scarabs are going to attempt to make that save. Oh, regen. Here comes the regen. Nope, so a wound's going to go through.
Now, those scarabs, now they may look like they're tiny and insignificant things, but they have tough 3, which really eats up shots, especially since their point cost is absolutely rock bottom. 75 points for 9 tough? That's a big deal.
Absolutely. And with that, it looks like we're going to get a morale check from the Robot Legion, and he's going to have to make that on a quality 6, and he passed. I can't believe it.
Oh my goodness.
Scarabs are brave, and normally that's not the case. Scarabs are not that brave.
Are they brave, or are they just incapable of perceiving fear?
Good question. When it comes to the Robot Legion, perhaps they are programmed to know what this fear is, but maybe they do not feel it.
Whoever, the elves that program scarabs to feel fear really should have their empire taken from them. Oh wait.
Oh wait.
Okay. we're coming in with the Inquisitor, moving hot at 6 inches, and boop. Looks like they haven't been keeping track of their tokens on this for the spells. Oh, no, never mind. It has 6. So we've been keeping track of there.
Oh,
and
man. That's a little rough.
Try to cast some spell. I'm not sure which one. Wasn't paying attention. Sorry about that, folks. But it doesn't matter because it failed.
Absolutely, and I love the comment section talking about those little buggers, those scarabs. They're tough, they're strong, and quite frankly, they're a menace.
Yes, with Volpid saying yes, Swarm is a tough 3 and also rending 9 attacks totally, which is fine. Very balanced, very good. Ooh, interesting move here. We have the warriors that were controlling objective 2 piling back into the night transport. Oh, maybe not.
Are they undoing the move?
Doing the hokey pokey. Okay, they're undoing the move because the night transport has to move forward. With Diva saying, I personally like the Dark Elf Raiders with Crystal Claws, heading a squad of crows with regen on all of them. Very spooky and quick unit. Yes, you would enjoy that, especially since that's what you took in your army. I've never seen Jackals with Night Elf or Dark Elf Raiders before. I'm not sure when they met each other.
Maybe there'll be a story to tell.
I'm sure Jackals always have stories to tell. That's for sure.
The recent lore video certainly gave us a lot to talk about, so we appreciate that.
We have some... This is interesting. Now, I was talking about earlier in, I believe, turn 2, that this could be a form of choke point. But that choke point really only works for Rin's favor if he got control of that objective. Now we're seeing it kind of the inability to get into that close combat range with these Guardians because of that movement blocking.
That is correct. However, there's just enough Guardians to wipe out the remainder of those. It seems like 5 conscripts and 1 leader, which will really open up that objective. But
Okay.
we'll have to see. May the dice gods favor whoever they want to favor, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I just heard how many... even though there's not very many of these Guardians in play close enough, it's still 14 sword attacks. And again, we're seeing those hyper swords. Oh my goodness. 3 Rins, AP 1. This is gonna be devastating. That's a lot of failed though with quality 3 up.
Oh, 1 saved. The rending, impressive. That's gonna be 2 wounds though. He's gonna have to worry about.
Just from rending, right?
Just from the rending, which means he doesn't have to deal with. At least he's still got to worry about cohesion. So that line is starting to break. And he's still got 4 more that he's got to worry about. Oh, that's AP 1, so they're gonna be hurting. Yeah. I wonder why he's rolling them all at once. That's...
Yeah, so we have...
Yeah, so the conscripts are dead at this point.
Yep.
And that's gonna be a wound on the leader.
So we have the 3 conscripts, like you said, and 1 wound on the leader. And that opens up this choke point that we were talking about for these Guardians to consolidate their 3 inches.
That's only if the company leader is destroyed. He still has to pass a morale check.
My apologies. Yeah, he saves his morale check. That's fantastic. He needed that because he couldn't kill off any more conscripts.
Not to mention, he still has hold the line, so he can get rid of his own wounds just to pass his own morale check. Yeah,
but have you ever met a Human Defense Force company leader that would sacrifice his own wounds?
You know, that's a great question. I've never seen it myself, but I'd be willing to see it today.
And we have the move back. So this is still interesting that movement blocking did take effect, and we still have the Human Defense Force potentially controlling objective marker 1. Now, Rin's really running out of activations here.
It seems like my previous analysis may have been incorrect about...
that is really important here. Rin is out of activations on this side of the map, and the only activations were left were the night transport, which loaded up its units and then shot across the map. Shot off the cross map this way. Even though moved the model in that direction, he fell off the map this way. Just so everyone knows, wasn't going 60 inches. Okay.
Honestly, if you'd ask for my opinion right now, that other transport coming in with 10 more warriors is going to be really difficult for the next squad of conscripts to deal with all those shots. We're looking at them having to survive one more round under serious fire and melee combat. I'm not looking forward to it, but I love dice rolls.
Yeah. With Cantus mentioning with the previous match of all of those hits, that's only 50% of the attacks actually hit, which is really below average for a 3-up unit, and that's really true. So that the dice gods weren't in Rin's favor, that's for sure. And Volpid, these human defense force are the bravest ever. They are in the eye of the storm, and they are enduring, which I was not expecting. This is completely not what we were expecting at the beginning of this turn 3.
Honestly, I'm just looking forward to some shooting from those tanks. Maybe we'll get some real damage here.
Yeah, that's for sure. With this, we're going to see objective marker 1 potentially fall to the human defense force with Puff, and then we have the tank coming in to secure objective 3, and then just completely blow away these warriors.
Maybe we'll get some blasts to go off. Maybe some of that deadly will come through. But there's still a lot of armor piercing just on that gun alone. Most AP1, some AP2, 3, and even one AP4. This is going to be beautiful. All right, here comes those 3 hits. He's going to attempt to regen. All right, only 1 regen, but that's still 2 of those wounds go through. Devious has a good point. Rin's got to get into these conscripts with the quickness, else the tanks will take out his killing power.
Yeah, we're finally seeing Puff's majority of his army, because those conscripts, again, a fraction of his army, like a quarter of his army, has been holding off the majority of Rin's army by themselves. And now we're coming up with the next round of attacks from the tank. Both 5s, it looks like.
We're finally starting to see some bodies drop on the robot side, which is a feat to behold, really, since they're so tough and durable.
That is very true. And we have 1 save on that attack with that 6, and then now we're going for that regen. Whoa, that's a clutch regen right there.
Oh man, here comes the cannons.
We're dealing with a pulverizer gun here. Attack 1, AP3, Blast 3, going against those. The Blast 3 could really help out here. With attack 4 up.
Absolutely. And it's got some armor piercing, and the warriors are only defense 4, which means they're not going to be saving very much on that.
Oh, this is actually a really important save here. So the roll was a 3, but because of the company leader being within range, the take aim rule takes effect, which is a +1 to the shoot, which was given to the tank. And that makes it so a miss turned into a successful blast, and that resulted in, oh goodness.
Here comes that blast 9 that we've been waiting for. Oh wow, there's going to be a lot of robots that are going to have to do some regen at this point.
These are the heavy machine gun and the heavy machine gun array with 9 attacks, AP1. We're doing a regen hit on 3.
Wow, 2 did not make it.
Yep.
Warriors took some hits here.
Warriors did take some hits. That's about nearly 50% of the squad is gone just from this one activation of the tank. Now we're moving into the field artillery, which does have a good line of sight, just barely on that same squad. So we could see potentially another big gun taking out some more units. Again, the artillery, though, does only have 1 attack, AP3, deadly 6, which might be overkill for the squad. So we need to double check, make sure. It looks like that was a missed attack, and we're moving now into the tank.
That is unfortunate for the human defense force. I will say this, Volpit's got a good point. These shots are crucial to understand whether Puff's strategy can be continued or whether it needs to be completely overhauled. So we're really seeing whether this strategy will even work against the robot legions, but there's still hope.
There we go. We have 3 shots at AP3 into the same unit of warriors, I believe. Saving on... Oh, yeah, so saving on 6 is now we're going for regen. That's 3...
1 regen.
1 regen, so that's 2 more.
Wow, those warriors are going to be taking a morale check at this point.
If they survive that long. We need their morale will take place after the end of the firing. This is such an intimidating...
Oh no! That's a failed morale check! They're going to have to do the robot rule.
Oh no, that's not good. That is a lot of dice for robot rule.
1s and 3s. Oh no, that's 5 additional wounds.
5 additional wounds.
He can't regen those.
Why would we regen those?
Hold on.
Yep. Would you mind Red going over there? We have Cantus with some good luck. That oppression cannon could ruin the flyer. That is true. The oppression cannon could do some damage here. And then Devious, he's likely going to attempt to use the artillery for anti-air. I'd imagine the tank he wants to keep for the infantry. That is completely true. The artillery with its deadly 6 can completely nuke a flyer, but with the flyers themselves, we're not sure yet if those flyers are going to be more of a distraction vehicle or if they're going to be vital for the strategy. So we'll see how it goes. Cantus with wounds from failed robot checks cannot be prevented in any way, though. That is completely true. Red is currently speaking with the players, talking to him about that. Make sure that the regen didn't take effect. My recollection was they removed 2 of the dice for the regen, so it should have been 5 wounds, which might have meant that the robot lord would have taken 2 wounds, but we're going to see how that plays out. Volpid saying, despite the success of the fire, I still think Puff should have occupied the entire target with 2 tanks. There's a lot of should, coulda, wouldas, but these tanks are going to hopefully prove quite useful in round 4. The conscripts really eating up a lot of these activations in turn 3. Make it so Rin is out of position quite badly. And I'm really hoping someone's going to go over here and claim this objective 2, because this fight being over objective 1 is a huge deal. But no, looks like we're not doing any resolution. The robot lord is perfectly fine, and we're ending turn 3 with those clutch, unbelievable conscripts coming in and securing objective marker 1. And they held off with objective marker 3 while clearing off this massive unit of warriors. That is unbelievable.
Right, and I have to apologize earlier. That was not a regen check. That was actually additional shots coming from the tank that he was saving for, which he didn't, which is why more warriors died. But he did pass the morale check, the robot lord, that he had to do, so he didn't have to do the robot rule at all. But they're now aware of the robot rule can't be regen.
Oh, appreciate that, Red. Thank you for that clarification. That is a big point. It's a huge win off of that. While lost all the warriors, the robot lord has 0 wounds.
It is impressive. The fact that he's still around, it just means that he may not have the firepower to get those conscripts and that company leader off that objective. He may be able to contest it, though. But with the sizable amount of damage that's been done to the Robot Legion, a tie could prove valuable at this point.
That is true. We just heard something from the players that is absolutely not a good sign, which was Rin saying, I'm going to try something that's going to force you to make a sadistic choice.
Oh, no.
You never want to hear that.
No. It could be a bluff, but every time I've heard that, it's usually not. But yeah, Cantus has a good point. If point one ends the game contested, the game is a draw. We'll have to decide who wins based on battle points or the amount of units that have been lost versus the other opposing army. So it's going to come down to this turn 4 drops.
Yeah, it's true. As Devious puts it, doom drops. Thank you very much, Cantus, for calling me out on my terrible habit of moving away from the mic. You are here to listen to my voice, and I keep on moving away to look at things. But we have this charge in here. Which...
All right, here comes the charge. First charge of turn 4. Let's go.
These Guardians are going to come in, most likely surround everything, avoiding coming in contact with this company leader. Hey, get off that company leader.
It seems like they have come to a decision with the base contact on that. But regardless, it seems like those conscripts may not be able to see tomorrow's morning sunshine.
Tomorrow's morning sunshine. How poetic. Devious with Rin, I'm so proud of you. Very, very fatherly of you, Devious. He's probably learned a little bit from you and your matches. Hopefully a lot from the previous match. But I want to see in the chat here, what do you think? Who's going to win this? Do we have a vote for Robot Legions, or do we have a vote for Human Defense Force?
I want to see some votes. I didn't even bet this time around, so it's kind of up in the air.
No. How are we supposed to know?
Well, I was banned from betting last match, so I got a kibosh on that one from the good old wife. Just trying to help me not lose money.
Of course. Now we're using the once in range. They're using the 1-inch consolidation to get more in, and it looks like we're going to get probably everything within 1 inch of the conscripts. This is not a good look for those conscripts. They've already been through too much.
Oh goodness, they're going to be taking 20 AP1 rending attacks, armor piercing of 1, and then they're getting 3 additional non-armor piercing attacks from the commander himself. Honestly, my heart goes out to them, but I don't see them making it. I hate to be negative Nancy on this one, but the statistics are not in their favor.
Well, Devious earlier mentioned in the chat that he absolutely hates this dice roller, so we might be able to see why. Nope, the dice roller is loving win.
Devious is wrong this time.
Wow, that is statistically improbable.
Improbable, but amazing for Rin.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot of rending. That is a lot of AP4 against conscripts that don't need that much firepower against them.
I mean, the AP1 was already overkill. It doesn't really matter at this stage. There's going to be a lot of disintegrated conscripts. 18, this could be it. 18 hits going into conscripts, this could be too much.
Well, let's hope that the Dice Gods will favor Puff more than anyone else has ever been favored by the Dice Gods, and he just gets straight 6s.
No, that's
not a good
4
start.
wounds, Ryder. Nope.
Nope. Not a great start.
Oh no, that's more dead guys right there. That might be it for the conscripts.
We had our 4. Maybe, and I believe that's a total of 10? Ten
are dead already. Oh, that's not good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh.
And there's still more coming their way. Those conscripts gotta hold out.
Oh, these conscripts have been unbelievable this entire match. Just eating shots like crazy.
Alright, hopefully they can survive. Nope, there's some wounds coming in right there. Okay, so this is all on the Commissar. The Commissar's got to make it. He's got more defense, but we got some AP1 shots. This could be bad. Oh no! There goes the conscript.
Oh no, this is not.
That
is not good. We're coming in with a 3-inch consolidation. Again, this is a graveyard of ghosts. Please remove. There we go. We have Cantus with Robot Mirror Finals. Woo. It's still anyone's game. Remember, there is about 1,200 points left on the table right here, really controlling this objective 3. But it's not looking good with this control of objective marker 1 and objective marker 2 by the robot legions. Well, but those two conscripts are still standing. Not anymore.
Oh, no.
They saw the black hole of the end of the world and died from it.
Old one, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if that conscript goes, then it looks like that might be it for the poor human defense force. He's the only one holding that objective.
Indeed. And Kanta's saying, obviously, the solution is to charge with the tank to get impact hits. That is a fair point here.
A fair point, but I don't know.
Impact 6 on 2-ups could take out the Robot Lord, but there's a lot that needs to be taken out just beyond that.
The issue is those tanks don't have enough unit prioritization to be able to target multiple units and still succeed. They can ideally deal with one squad each, but since it's the last round, there's too many squads on that objective now, and their strength is still pretty much full considering what the Guardians have.
Very true. They're talking about what the tank's shooting right now, so we'll get some clarification on that. But Red, I've got a question here. Do the players know that there's two sides to this map?
Well, only one of the players acknowledged that, apparently, as his flyers conquered that objective turn 1, and now his flyers returning, as I said, on turn 4 to drop even more warriors on that objective.
That is completely true. Puff is acting like there's only the south side of this map. That's a lot of dice. Coming from... Oh no, that's not a great... Coming from the tank, we have 3 hits. One of them goes through. We have the regen. That's a failed regen.
Let's take a look at what Volpid has to say while the dice rolls are going on. Puff has not reinvented himself. I don't see him having another chance right now. I'm sorry. So it seems like chat is not in favor for Human Defense Force anymore. It's all Robot Lords taking over. Oh, here goes the charge.
Devious brings up a good point. Don't forget that last air transport, Rin's going to use that for objective secured. So I guess, yeah, that's quite heavily favored here. Again, this is the middle of turn 4 with the majority of the activations for the Human Defense Force player here with Puff. This charge coming in on, what are we charging here, Red?
Oh no, that's their Commissar gone. It's game over. We just lost the Commissar.
I didn't even know he was still around.
Yeah, he's gone. And right now the players are discussing that that's pretty much game.
Volpid saying, sure, Rin will use the aircraft to steal objective 3. I don't know if that's even necessary here, Volpid. Devious, even with the tanks, I don't think Puff has enough firepower to tear those bots off objectives. Doubly so with more bodies coming in and not enough movement, I would like to add. Oh, we've got it. We have it. It has been called. Rin Vale has successfully defeated PuffnStuff to take the semifinal wins. It's going to be a mirror match between between Rin Vale and Adam the Fairy, double robot legions.
Hey,
this is unbelievable.
This is an upset. Also, the players are ready for the post-game interview whenever we're ready.
Okay, let me just drop into that so we can have that discussion.
This is quite the upset. I'm excited for 2 robots to duke it out. Which one will win?
Hello?
Hello. Rin, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm Rin.
Very good. Our Robot Legion, second Robot Legion extraordinaire, and PuffnStuff.
I brought today the Human Defense Force in kind of a meme list, throwing conscripts and tanks in it, Robot Legion, and I got masterfully outplayed.
My
Very
Robot
good.
Legion is designed to be as fast as can be, and basically was me trying to make the most unroboty robot list possible.
That's,
For
and
now,
boy,
it's
did
working.
you. Well, congratulations, Rin. Thank you very much for joining this tournament. You have secured a place in the finals. That means you're going to be fighting for not only the title of champion, but a fantastic trophy that I bought from a thrift store and will be modifying.
Wow.
Nice.
Puff, you've unfortunately don't make it into the final match, but because you made it to the semifinals and you've been such a great contestant, you get one of the plaques that I'll be making. So keep an eye out for that coming forward.
Ooh.
So
All right.
you're not going home empty-handed here. But Puff, I would like to ask you to start with you here. You've during the deployment, you completely ignored this section of the map. Can you kind of explain your thought process?
I had actually done a couple practice games beforehand. I realized that if I was too spread out, I was just going to get outmaneuvered. So, for example, I knew he had to commit a transport to it no matter what. So the idea was that if I could keep the entire game on one side of the table, I could focus fire down and keep him off the objective. The main problem I just had is I couldn't buff my tanks fast enough, and he played very wise. He's the first opponent against this that I've seen do this. Is he didn't let himself get shot. Most players first turn will just move everything up forward, and I really get my value out of my tanks by shooting 4 consecutive turns. If they can't shoot all 4 turns in this game, they're really not that great.
That is,
Uh,
yeah, that's a
so
fair
I
point.
really just have one big brick that I had to move up. I think I did win the advantage of placing the objectives. I think my only mistake was I probably should have placed them closer to the center, maybe a line right here together so I could control them easier. But
Yeah.
yeah, aside from that, I just my list can't be split up just because of the nature of its design.
You're
Plus,
absolutely correct, by the way. I was hoping to spread your army so I could pounce on one flank and then reposition to secure objectives.
so,
And
yeah,
you not doing that denied me my main strategy immediately.
yeah. So it had just become a game down to who was tougher, my face or his fist. So his fist won today.
Well, especially since his face wasn't there.
Yes, his face was not there.
That we've seen a lot, Rin, with your transport play, keeping your units out of the way. Is that one of the main reasons why you've designed the army the way you have, or what's the inspiration
So
with that?
I can't. So because I'm a little bit new, I wanted to a little bit shake opponents with a strategy that they don't see coming. So that the ability to leave with my army and just not be there for a bit as an option, or just to really aggressively attack as an option, is something I was trying to do, and basically just to pull a fast one with robots that like people just don't expect. And that way, both me and my opponent would be in the same position of not knowing what the hell we're doing.
Well, you don't play like a new player, that's for sure. But confuse your players is an interesting strategy that not very many people have been able to pull off, and so I appreciate your build here. At what point, Rin, did you feel, if any point, did you feel that you were in danger?
The conscripts. I was very uncertain because I really had a debate about whether to come down on turn 2 and try to block the exits from this little section here, where the tank currently is, and basically try to hold out to prevent them from moving forward towards this objective at all, or to try to come in on turn 3. And I really thought I misplayed when I didn't come down turn 2. I was worried about just how much damage I would take when you got in, and then even worse, walked through the second unit through my aircraft. I didn't know that. I was kind of expecting to drop a unit to block them off, and that didn't work. So that was quite scary. And I started to wonder, like, can I kill both conscript units in time? The answer was yes, but it was very rough, especially when you forced my large unit to attack you piecemeal in this narrow gap, not being able to bring all of its attacks to bear.
That's Puff. I've been really impressed with the movement blocking that you've been doing in this game. Absolutely phenomenal. Is that something that you practiced, PuffnStuff? Or
pretty much the entire point of this list is just fine movements. The tanks are really just there for fun and kind of scaring people. They're more of a distraction than anything. Again, the output that I put in terms of damage really isn't that impressive unless you have something really big that I can focus on or easy to see. So after that, all I have is my conscripts, is hoping I don't die and I can hold objectives. I'm purely an objective focused list. The tanks are just there for fun.
Well, thank you very much for this fantastic map, not map, game. This has been unbelievable
great,
to
by the way.
watch.
Yeah, the map's pretty good too.
This is a fun map to play on. I had
Great.
a lot of thought going into it.
I really enjoyed this game, especially since it was almost a game of playing with half an army, because both sides really were playing with either units loaded up in transports or your vehicles out of way. So it's an interesting play, such a cagey game with such little bloodshed up until basically the end of round 2. But thank you very much. Thank you all for watching. Congratulations, Rin, moving on to the final round. We'll be announcing the final match shortly, so keep an eye out that everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been terrific fun. Thank you for my opponent.
Thank you, YouTube audience, for participating in the chat and participating and watching.